Hello again, my name is Diane and I design and make patchwork quilts, and this is the Saturday quilt. Saturday's child works hard for a living, also known as the Bee Quilt. It's absolutely full of bee fabric. And if you'd like to see how I made this quilt, please continue watching. Well, for me there was only ever one direction this quilt was going to go in. And as you can see, I was playing around with a few ideas, and this is the design. There is a huge sort of sunflower in the centre, and there are some smaller flowers around the outside. I think these might all be white daisies, perhaps with a different colour. Add some yellow maybe. And then this sort of ribbon represents the waggle dance. Now, I don't know if you know this, but when bees find a good source of nectar, they do an undulating dance back to their nest or hive, and the nearer the source of nectar, the shorter the undulations between each bounce up and down there are. So the further away the nectar is, the wider the gap is in the undulations. So I'm putting a waggle dance around the outside, centre flower, a row, I think, looks like a little posy of white possibly, and then some more yellow probably in the corners. I'll show you the fabric. In my opinion, I don't think you can have too many bees in a bee quilt. Okay, that said, my collection for this quilt started with this one fat quarter bundle that I had in my stash for ages, that I was saving for a special occasion. And when I decided to make this bee quilt, this Saturday quilt, I went to my local store and they had fat quarter bundles in by the Women's Institute, which is the largest women's organisation in the UK. And they're given 34p from the sale of their fat quarter bundles. So I bought 3 of those. And they have this with hives and white. Then they have this, which is a little tiny daisy and a small one. And then they have some bigger daisies, the yellow and the whites. And then they have a sort of hexy pattern. And then they have the queen, beautiful queen. Might use her in the centre of something. So then I thought I need some yellow for my daisies, and in my stash I had this. That was all the yellow I had. So I bought this. And then I thought I might need a dark centre for my daisies. And so I bought this. And then I thought, well, I'll need some green to go around the outside. So I had these greens in my stash, only pieces, not very much, but I don't need very much, just for the outside of the daisies. And then I saw this, and then I thought I need something to set it all off, and so I've gone for summer. A little polka dot. It's looking grey at the moment on the camera, but it's a very soft, warm sky blue. So this is my fabric for the bee quilt. And I think that might make something beautiful. So let's get quilting. I'm going to start piecing this quilt by constructing this central flower, the main flower. And the way I'm going to begin that is by creating, first of all, a blue and yellow variable star. And that is the first part of the central block in the quilt. And now I need to just concentrate on these 4 corners, and I'll show you what they look like. So these half square triangles finish at 3 inches, and then you've got the 1/4 inch seam allowance around the outside, so the finished sewn block is 2.5 inches. And so these little 4 patch are 1 3/4 inches, and they finish at 3 inches. Those little patches are here with the yellow inside. That's how they look in the block put together. So now I'm just going to work around the outside of this square, this central square. The first thing I want to do is to construct these little blocks here, and they're 3 inches deep and 5.5 inches wide, and there's 4 of those. That's how they look. So I just need to find the centre of that to match the centre seam there, and now I want to put these little side blocks in. So as you can see, the white bees are surrounding. Now I'm just going to put these half square triangle corners in, and that'll be that central block complete. Well, I've just completed these gold and green outside parts of the flower, the petals and the starts of the leaves, and then the next step is to create these half square triangles, which will be in the same green as the outside here, and also introducing another green to go with that, a contrast. So that's the green starting. You can see now the flower shape beginning to form, and so when I put these next green ones in, that'll define the petals. I should do that next. And those now are the green leaves starting to appear. So the next row will come around the outside. That's another single row, and that would be the tops of the green leaves, and the introduction of the sky and the waggle dance will start on the next row. So I'll show you those in a moment. So I just need to join up these edges, and that's the central part of the quilt complete. And then I'm going to work on the bottom section. So the part I'm going to work on next is this block here. And then I'll need to do the same for the top, and then there'll be 2 little side sections there. So before I start that, I am going to go in the garden and have a look in my little wildlife area and see if there's any real bee activity this morning. Look at this one. Just completely immersed himself in pollen. I mean, just look. It's almost drunk. Into the next one. So beautiful. Back to quilting. This isn't going to get my bee quilt done. Just watching bees all day. Well, I made a test block, a little white daisy. I really like the yellow pointed star in the inside, but that's about all really. So there's 2 here on the bottom panel and 2 there complete, and then in the side panels here there's another 2 on each side, but part of their foliage will be in the top and bottom panel. So I'm going to do this and that first and then come back to those. So I thought I'd quickly show you how I make this little daisy block. At the moment it's 10.5 inches square-ish. It needs to have a 1 3/4 inch border on, so I'll probably cut that just over 1 3/4 inches so I can square that up. And I start off with a simple variable star. And that now is the second row around the variable star, and it's the introduction of the leaves and the finish of the inner blue. So there's 1 more row now, the finish of the leaves, the top of the white petals, and then the surrounding blue squares. Well, I've completed those 4 blocks, and as you can see, there's the blue outside, and then I've put a 1 3/4 inch border around. So now I'm going to have a go at making the larger flower that's in the corner, and I'll show you that. So this is the block, the close-up, and I've prepared all the pieces, so I'll show you how that looks. So the centre is 4 half square triangles, they're 3 inches, and the dark is in the centre. And then I've taken a 3-inch square of the yellow honeycomb with a bee, and I've just snowballed here the corners off for white. So that's the flower shape. And then I've taken 1 3/4 inch half square triangles with the blue and the white, just to bring out the tips of the flowers, just to make that a little bit larger and brighter. And then I have 3-inch half square triangles in the 2 tones of green. That brings in the centre flower. So I've used that green in there, and this is used everywhere, the green bee. So that's the corner leaf, and then we've got the fillers on the outside. And then there are 2 half square triangles of the waggle dance fabric and the blue sky. So the blue triangle is closest to the flower, and the waggle dance is facing out. So there's one there and there's one there, and then it's just blue sky around the outside. I've sewn the 4 corners, and it's just this little piece that goes across the top here. So some of the petals and leaves from the other daisy flower are included in that, and part of the ribbon for the waggle dance, and I'll show you that. So that's the corner complete, and now just to complete that block we have this little piece that fits along the top, and I'll sew that now. Same on all 4 corners. So on with the waggle dance, and now I'm going to create this rectangle here. There are 4 identical pieces, and I've incorporated the dark background with the bees on in the centre there, because I have it in the star there and in the corners here, and I just wanted to bring a little bit more into the quilts. So that's that central piece, and I've also made the piece that goes along the bottom of the daisy block. So I'm just going to place these together on the floor and have a look and see what that looks like. So there we have the centre flower, and we have the start of the ribbon that comes around the outside. And now I've just laid out the bottom panel and the top panel. I've inserted those sides. Just look at that. It is like summer in a quilt. All the little bees and the daisies. In the UK at the moment it's cold and it's raining and it's grey, and that just lifts your heart. Isn't it pretty? Okay, I'm going to work on the 4 daisies now. You can see where I've started them. They are fiddly, they do take a while, small pieces. Just be a little bit patient. Get that done. And then I'm going to piece the back with all the other bead pieces of fabric that I've bought and not used for the front. Well, it's the end of the day, and I've finished piecing the front. It's 60 inches square, 153 centimetres, and I think it looks beautiful. I love the posies in this circle. So tomorrow I'm going to start piecing the back. Now there's a lot of seams in the front of this, and I quilt on a domestic sewing machine, so I don't want to make a pieced back with too many small pieces, so I'm going to try and keep those fat quarters as large as possible. So I've pieced the fat quarters that were left over from the front, the ones I didn't use, the bee fabric, just into strips, trying to keep the least amount of seams as possible in the back. So it's all bees. So I'm just now going to put a little cream border around that just to make it big enough to back, and then I'll start quilting. Almost done now. And that's the back of the quilt. The bees are upside down, sorry about that, bees. You can see, beautifully quilted, 100% cotton. So this is it finished. I'll just zoom in a moment so you can see the bees. Look. Everywhere. Very pleased with the bees. There's no bee activity today here in the UK. It's a bit cold and grey. They'll be sleeping somewhere nice and warm. And that's it, finished. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please subscribe, hit the notification button, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye.